Okay, so I'm looking at your first quiz, and I want to make sure that you understand how I grade before we go into the school year. So one of the things that I do is I give you points for every single thing, which means that if you skip a problem, you're really honestly not in a great place. Whereas if you put at least a little bit you know, there's a good chance that you got a point or so. So as I look at this first one, my x is in between both lines, so I should get an x in between. Every time I get an x in between, I get less than signs. This dot is filled in, it gets an equal sign. It starts at a -6, it goes to a +6. Oh, no, it doesn't go to a +6, sorry. It goes to a +8. Okay, so you get 1 point for the -6. You get 1 point for the 8. You get 2 points for having the less than equal to sign. You get a point for having the x in the middle, and you get 2 points for having the less than sign knowing that it was not an equal sign. So this is worth 2, 4, 6, 7 points total right here. Okay. My interval notation now. Interval notation goes from left to right. I see the -6 first. I see the 8 second. Then I get a point for the bracket, and I get a point for the parenthesis. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4 points total. Okay. So again, all of this entire piece is going to be worth 7. This entire piece is going to be worth 4. Going down. That means each of these first problems are worth 11 points. So you can see how quickly you can fall behind if you just keep leaving things blank. Okay, so all of you should know that there's at least an x here. That's the hope. All of you should know that a -2 is in this in some way, shape, or form, and a 6 is in this in some way, shape, or form. That's 3 points right there. If you can go and give me equal signs, now you've got 4, 5. Then you take a guess on which way it goes, and if you happen to guess the less than, you got full points. This goes from -2 to 6. I get a point for the bracket. I get a point for the parenthesis. Okay. When you're marking these wrong, you're going to mark them wrong each individually. So if this person happened to not put a -2 and they put a +2, you would mark that wrong and it'd be -1. If this person happened to not put an equal sign, you would mark that wrong and it would be -1. Okay, all the way through. This problem is worth 7 points right here, 1 for the -2, 1 for the less than, 1 for the equal sign, 1 for the x, 1 for the less than, 1 for the equal sign, 1 for the 6. Then this is worth 4 points, 1 for the bracket, 1 for the -2, 1 for the 6, 1 for the parenthesis. This actually should not be a parenthesis, it should be a bracket. The reason it's a bracket is because this is a closed dot and that's a closed dot. Open circle, parenthesis, parenthesis. Goes from -10 to 10. -10 to 10. The x is in between, it's in the middle. It should always get less than signs. And these ones will not get equal signs. So you get a point for the -10. You get a point for the less than. You get a point for not having the equal sign. If the equal sign is there, you're going to mark -1. You get a point for the x. You get a point for the less than. You get a point for not having the equal sign. You get a point for the 10. Still worth 7 points. You get a point for the parenthesis. You get a point for the negative 10. You get a point for the 10. You get a point for the parenthesis. They must be in order. Okay? So right here, this is multiple choice. In my class, multiple choice is all or nothing. Okay, so it's worth 4 points. You either get all 4 or you get none of them. So negative 3 gets written first, 7 gets written second. That doesn't help us mark anything off. Negative 3 does not have an equal sign. If it does not have an equal sign, it is not B and it is not D. Seven has an equal sign, which means that it gets a parentheses. Your answer is C. They either got +4 or they got -4. One of the two. They either got it totally right or totally wrong. Okay. Number 5 is again multiple choice, but in order to get to the answer, we need to do some math. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. When I do that, I get the negative 2x is greater than or equal to 10. Now I need to divide by negative 2 to get x by itself. When I divide by negative 2, I'm going to switch all of my signs. This means that this becomes an x is less than equal to -5. Note that that sign switches. When that sign switches, it causes different things to happen with my inequalities. So personally, I need to go and graph this. I'm going to put this on -5. I'm going to go, hey, this is a closed dot, and it's going to point that direction because it matches the arrow. That direction is going towards -infinity. When it goes towards -infinity, that is listed first. So it goes -infinity, comma 5. So it can't be B and it can't be D. So then the -infinity always gets parentheses, but the 5 here, the -5, gets a bracket. The reason is because this is a closed dot because that's an equal sign. Again, this was worth 4 points. You either got them all or you didn't. On your test, I might add an extra point here just because you had to do some extra work. But for right now, as we're grading this and you're trying to figure out how I grade, I just want it worth 4 points. Okay. I erased some of my work so that I opened up some more space. So here I'm looking at something that I need to find the y-intercept, the slope, and the graph. This is already in y equals mx plus b form, which is really super nice because then my y-intercept and my slope are both super easy to find. Now, I purposefully did this and put the y-intercept first. Okay, I put it out of order to see if you know what order the numbers actually go in. I need you to make sure that you are reading as you're going through. I know that slope is one of the things that we're still super struggling with. Okay, if this is y equals mx plus b, you should be able to tell me that the b is my y-intercept and the m is my slope. You should be able to tell me that there is nothing that you have to do to this equation in order to get those two things. Sometimes these equations will be out of order and you'll have to move some things around. Okay, not in this case. So my y-intercept is -5. It's the b. That is worth a point. My slope is 3. If you wrote 3 over 1, I will also accept that. That is worth a point. On your graph, you should have a dot right here on -5. That dot is worth a point. You should have moved up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. If your line goes through that point, it is worth a point. And then if they drew a line in any way, shape, or form, they get a point. And then arrows at the end is worth a point. Our book does not put arrows on things. It really bothers a lot of math teachers like myself because it doesn't tell you that it goes on and on forever and ever and ever. And that gets difficult when we start doing things like number 7, where I ask you for increasing, decreasing, constant. When I ask you for something like a domain and range, you don't know if it goes on forever or if it stops. It's important for you to put the arrows on that problem. Okay, so this whole problem, all of number 6, was worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Okay. So then as I look at number 7, I'm looking to tell you when the graph is increasing, decreasing, or constant. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start on the left and go across. So on the very far left, this arrow tells me that this goes to -infinity. Then I'm going to stop at this point. The big problem that people were having where they were like, you didn't give us lines here. You didn't need lines there. I specifically did not give you lines there to try to help you get this right, okay? Every time we're doing something, it's based off of an x. The only time that changes is when I'm looking for a range, but I'm not going to ask you for a range unless I've already asked you for a domain. And the domain represents x. Okay, so anytime I'm asking you for an interval, I'm looking for an x. I'm looking for the left and right. So this goes as far to the left as -infinity, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it hits -5 as we go to the right. This piece was decreasing, so I'm going to go -infinity, comma, -5. -infinity must have a bracket or a parenthesis. It must have a parenthesis. Infinities always get parentheses. The -5 can have either a bracket or a parenthesis. We as a math world have not decided if we want these to be brackets because they're closed dots, or if we want them to be parentheses because technically at this point right here we stopped, and so it's no longer decreasing. You're going to put a bracket or a parenthesis. It does not matter. You get a point for the parenthesis on infinity. You get a point for the -infinity. You get a point for the -5. You get a point for either a parenthesis or a bracket right there. Your choice. Worth 5 points. Worth 4 points, sorry. For either a parenthesis or a bracket. Then I go here. That piece is increasing. It's increasing from -5 to -4 to -3. So I'm going to go -5, comma, -3. The parentheses or the brackets do not matter there. You're going to get a point for the -5. You're going to get a point for the -3. You're going to get a point for having brackets or parentheses in any way, shape, or form. The only one that had that specific parenthesis is right here, that -infinity. As I go across, this is straight across, it's flat, it's constant. I'm going from -3 to -1. Again, these could have brackets or parentheses. It's your choice. Whatever works better for you. That's worth 3 points. 1 for the 3, 1 for the 1, and 1 for the brackets or parentheses that close us off from the next interval. Right now I'm increasing, I'm going up. I'm going up from -1 to +1. So from -1 to +1. That's worth another 3 points. 1 for the -1, 1 for the 1, and 1 for the parentheses or brackets, your choice. So then I'm going downwards. As I go downwards, this is decreasing. I'm decreasing from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So 1, 4. You get a point for the parentheses or the brackets. You get a point for the 1. You get a point for the 4. That's another 3 points. This is increasing from 4 to 5. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to draw in blue. This is increasing from 4 to 5. You can use parentheses or brackets, your choice. Then I'm left with this last little piece that goes on and on forever and ever and ever, so that should tell you that it goes to infinity. This means that it is constant from 5 to infinity. You get a point for the 5, you get a point for the infinity. You get a point for the parenthesis or the bracket on 5, your choice. And then it must be a parenthesis on infinity. It must be a parenthesis on infinity. So that one was worth 4. This one was worth 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, plus 4, plus 4. So 15 plus 8 is going to make 23 points for that last problem. That last problem was so big. It had so many things that I asked you to do in it. Okay? Because I don't want this last problem to be worth so many more points than all of these other problems, you're going to take that 23 and you're going to divide by 2. Okay? So if you got full credit, you got 13 points. You always round up. If you had gotten 10 points out of 23 points, you're going to end up with 5 points total. Okay? Then you're going to go through and you're going to add up how many points you got over the entire quiz. You're going to add up how many points you got over the entire quiz. Okay? So here it was worth 11, 11, 11. 4, 4. So right now I have 33, 37, 41. 41 plus 6 for number 6 makes 47. 47 plus 13 makes 60. This quiz is worth 60 points. That's worth a lot of points compared to the fact that it was 7 problems. It's worth a lot of points compared to the fact that this was worth 7 problems. Okay? You will notice that if you were smart enough to put down what you knew about this problem, you earned a point in some way, shape, or form in different places, instead of missing 11 points right off the bat, or missing 6 points right off the bat, or missing 4 points right off the bat. Okay? So it's really important in my class that you don't leave things blank. I want you to at least try. Tell me how many you got right out of 60. Leave it there, and we're done.